Well, hello, welcome back to Speaking Spurs. Me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And we get to talk about a victory in the Premier League. And luckily, it wasn't what I predicted. I said 3-1 Spurs and we won 2-0. So I'm glad we didn't concede a goal. A clean sheet's always good, especially with Romero out, who has, put his way in our squad as one of our starting centre-backs alongside Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. So welcome along to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Like the video and post your comments below. So, jumping into it, it's a great victory against Brentford, who have been an impressive side so far this season. If you watched the last video, spoke a bit about the build-up to it and, Brentford themselves and how impressed I was with them. But, this is the way things go. Tough opposition, playing at home. We had the crowd behind us and we get that victory, although it be with the help of an own goal. But, if they hadn't got to it, Ben Davies was there to mop up anyway. So the story of the night, an own goal and a Sonny goal to seal the win for us, which now gives us 7 points from a possible 9 under Conte so far in the Premier League. Look, which is fantastic, all right? We're not where we should be in terms of performance levels in those games, but this was a clear side that things are turning around. Players are starting to buy into what he wants. So talking about that lineup, Lloris in goal, Dyer, Sanchez and Davies as the back three, Royale and Reguilon as those marauding full-backs, wing-backs, operating in more of a midfield position, Højbjerg and Skippy next to each other with Sonny, Mora and Kane making up the front three. Now, that's the exact same lineup that he was going to use against Burnley, so didn't feel the need to make any changes. And why would he? That's what he was going to go with. The lads are still fit because they haven't actually had to play a game. They've had extra training sessions under him in the meantime to get them more prepared for the game and what he was bringing their way. So that's all good news. Look, at the end of the day, we deserved the win. We had more energy than them. Good pressing in the second half. Brentford, very hard to break down team. They squeeze the pitch when they're out of possession. So what I mean by that is they squeeze us into tight areas. Now, if you were watching the game on TV, I think it was Amazon that it was on, you would have seen the commentators brought up a section when we had a throw-in. They squeezed us into one section of the pitch, and that's great. From a defensive standpoint, most of the time we struggled to get out of it. We just kind of kept ourselves into that contained area, couldn't get out. A couple of times we managed to break free and create chances from those, but they were on very rare occasions. Quite intelligent in the way they play the game defensively, get a lot of men behind the ball. The one thing they weren't great at, like they had been start of the season, was their expressiveness with the ball. They were a lot slower to attack in this game, I felt, and that played to our advantage because we were very quick on the counter-attack. We played, 3 centre-backs again, which I think is the way forward, and it works really well with our squad because it gives freedom for us on the counter-attack. It releases Reguilon and Royale or whoever's going to occupy those positions at times, whether it be Sessegnon or Doherty. It gives us so much freedom because we've got the 3 in there. They can burst on. And it showed that for the second goal. Reguilon was the furthest man forward in the end, got his way through and then slid the ball across for Sonny with probably the easiest finish of his career. Very easy, just walked onto it. Lovely pass from Kane. Beautiful weight on it for Reguilon. And Reguilon returned the favour to Sonny. So, simple goal, easy finish, great play, hit on the counter-attack, just what we need to do. The other thing I like about the 3 centre-backs is what it actually allows is when we're in possession, you can go to a back 2 and one of them can slot forward into the midfield, and what that allows then is Højbjerg to push further up the field. Occasionally it might be Skippy getting forward. At times they were both forward. There was one situation where Skippy played a ball in from the edge of the box slightly to the right. Højbjerg was in the box ready to finish it. Højbjerg had another chance in the game where it was only the goalkeeper's face to deny him. So look, this system works really well because it pushes one forward. It gives us a bit of extra defence, but I like it. It brings Davies into the squad, and we'll talk a bit about Davies in a bit. But Conte as well. You got to point him out. If you were watching the game or any of the games so far, he is up and down the touchline like a yo-yo to the point where he comes out of his technical area a lot. But he's in constant contact with the players, tells them exactly what he wants. He's constantly pointing, showing them, speaking, shouting. He demands of the players like he's a proper manager of a team. He micromanages as the game's going on, which is fantastic. The players always know what they're doing, so there's no excuses that they didn't have clear instructions going into the game, because they get those clear instructions throughout the game. I've said about the back three. Skippy as well. Oh my god, this guy gives Højbjerg so much more freedom. Skippy loves mopping up, absolutely loves it. He does a lot of running, he's pressuring, he's hassling, he's tackling, he's intercepting, does a fantastic job. Great youngster, great future. Conte was talking about him, saying how impressed he is with him, like his energy levels. He said he needs to get better on the ball, which I agree with. Sometimes he can be wasteful, but he's showing the right things. I mean, a lot of the time he does look sideways and backwards first, but he's trying things going forward. He's getting involved. He's only going to grow with confidence. And that is the third manager now that's mentioned how good he can be. Every single Spurs manager talks about Skippy in such a positive light. And I'm really excited as to what he can bring us, not just now, but for the future. Royale, we have to talk about him. So Hoddle was talking in the commentary saying that, he's a very mixed bag at the moment, and I kind of agree to an extent. However, I thought Royale was really good in this game. He made quite a lot of blocks, some interceptions, good tackling, and I feel like it's harsh to criticise him too much, because the majority of what Brentford did in the second half, especially towards the end, came down Royale's side, and I thought that he dealt with it really well, bar giving away a couple of free kicks, but they were at him constantly, and I felt like he dealt with it well. He tried to get up. The only thing he's really missing is that quality with his final ball. Pretty poor. A couple of times when he should have pulled the ball back or just whipped it in, and instead it's just weak. That's hard sometimes when you're running at pace. You've done all that work, you got right up the pitch, and then the final piece of the puzzle is the cross. Sometimes you're off balance, you're a bit tired, heavy breathing. Like I should know. Sometimes when I go to hit the ball after sprinting, it's hard. But at their level, you do expect better, and that's one of the things I think is missing from his game. But defensively, he's getting there. Ivan Toney beat him a couple of times where he shouldn't have. But on the whole, I'm happy with him. He's progressing nicely, and I think this wing-back role really suits him. What else? We'll talk about Davies in a bit. Moura and Sonny, plenty of running from them. Again, it was another typical Lucas Moura game, wasn't it? We're getting used to this now, where he makes some lovely runs, has lovely moments, shooting's a bit iffy. He kind of does what we need him to do. He tracks back when he needs to, puts pressures on the opposition team. So I haven't got too many complaints of him, but didn't really do anything of note. And then Sonny on the other side, I thought was pretty good. I thought he had a good night. Was a constant threat. He did his fair share of tracking back as well. I must say, Conte's got him working really hard up and down that touchline, and that also, the way he's playing, he can tuck inside, and it gives Reguilón so much freedom to overlap. Sonny had his chances. He obviously put in the goal. Nice, easy finish for him. So I'm pleased with Sonny. A good night for him. It's better than he's been recently, so that's a positive, going in the right direction. Kane didn't score again, but as the game went on, started to look better. I thought he had a poor start to the game, if I'm honest, fairly quiet, and I thought it was going to be another one of them nights, but it wasn't. He had chances, he had shots. Normally Kane would put them away. I will say their goalkeeper made a couple of good saves. The notable one, I think it was the through ball from Skippy. Kane put it a bit too close to the goalkeeper, and in form Kane would have bent that right round him. Goalkeeper still made a pretty good save off of his knee in the end. But he looked better as the game went on. And I have to say, when Kane was deeper, which we don't want him, we want him further forward, but when he was deeper, he played some really nice balls. Obviously, he played the ball through for Reguilón to set up Sonny, and that was a peach of a ball. So better things from him. And I'm not overly fussed if he's not scoring, as long as he's contributing in the way he should. And that's what he did in this game. He contributed when we needed him in the game. So not too much criticism there. Lloris, shaky from some of the crosses they put in. His punching was a bit iffy in the first half. In the second half, he definitely rectified that. His punching, I thought, in the second half was excellent. Commanded his area really well. Was talkative with his defenders. So it was an okay game for him. Didn't have too much to do in terms of actual shots on target. Reguilón, fantastic on the break. Some switched off moments at times from our set plays, which actually left Brentford space to counter-attack from, which we saw a few times. But it wasn't just him. The majority of the team fell asleep when the ball was in the box, waiting for it to fall down, and then Brentford broke. Luckily came to nothing, because Mbeumo, bless him, for all his efforts, had not the best of evenings, let's face it. His final ball was not great. His shooting was a bit erratic, and that kind of done us a favour. What next? So if we just talk a couple of the substitutes, Winksy came on for Mora. It was a bit of clever awareness from Conte. So we were mismatched in midfield. We had the two in terms of Skippy and Højbjerg, and they had three in there, which they didn't use to a very good effect until later in the game when they made their substitution. Immediate impact. Obviously, he'd been out with COVID, came back into the squad, made a massive difference to them on the pitch. Conte recognised this, changed it, took Mora off, whacked Winksy into the midfield with Skippy and Højbjerg, just to get the game back under control. He didn't really have loads and loads of time to do much, but he had a nice little cameo, broke up some play, tried some things. Passing was a bit iffy at times, but I expect that. He's been out of the squad, he's rusty. I still think it's probably time for him to go unless he's going to get regular game time, and he's not going to dislodge Skippy at any point. So, could be bye-bye Winksy, but at the moment, he's handy in these situations to bring on. Tanganga on for Royale, and that was again just to shore things up a bit. Tanganga, although should be less likely to attack, he still went on the attack. He went forward late in the game and had a shot that was blocked by the goalkeeper. So yeah, that was him. And then Bergwijn came on for Sonny, but that was, so late in the game, not really a chance to do anything. But when he did come on, he was part of a front two, him and Kane, which is what Sonny had occupied when we changed shape. So that's the first sign of what Conte had said about Bergwijn possibly playing as a second striker or a backup striker, although he had no time to really do anything. Now, talking about the managers talking, I thought Thomas Frank was excellent in the way he was talking. He's very honest. He must be an interviewer's dream. They must absolutely love it. He's very honest. Summarises the game really well. Was talking about his goalkeeper, who is their backup goalkeeper. By the way, he did very well. Very good at shot stopping. He was saying that he was impressed. Said he needed to get better with his feet, and I think we could see that at times. But he was saying about the big save against Kane. So he would have impressed his manager, and I thought without him in goal, there would have been a few more goals in the game, if I'm honest. I felt like we might have run away with it. Now, talking about Conte, so he was impressed. He's very calm, considering how up and down he is, like a yo-yo during the game, very passionate. Comes to his interviews and he's very calm in the way he talks. That was a very bad impression. Please don't rib me in the comments too hard for that. But very calm. It's like he's run out of energy. He has that moment with the players and then boom, he's too tired to get worked up. But he was saying, I'll just break it down into bullet points basically. Good performance. Brentford are a dangerous team. The clean sheet was important. We deserved the win. We missed some chances. He's happy with the commitment and passion of the players. The team showed some soul. We still need to improve. Players can enjoy the win until midnight. That's all he gave them from the time they won until midnight, and then they need to focus on Sunday, which is an important game against Norwich, which could be a massive confidence boost for us if we get a victory there. And he said a good reaction from the game against Mura, which we know was terrible, and we learn a lot from losing. So that leaves us 6th on 22 points and the clean sheet, which is really important for the confidence of the team, the defence going forward. So on that defence, let's talk about Ben Davies. Okay, Oliver Skipp was given man of the match, and I think almost rightly so. His tenacity in midfield, the things that he tried, great. However, I'm going to argue that possibly Ben Davies should have had man of the match, and here's why. So he played as a left centre-back, which is his natural position, in my opinion. He caused the threat for the opening goal, put the pressure on the defenders, and then we ended up having the own goal. He has a licence to bomb forward, playing in this centre-back role. He actually gets forward more than he ever did at a left-back, and I think it suits him better. He's much better when he's not sprinting and crossing the ball. He can join the attack as he wants up the pitch at the pace of the game and get involved that way, and he's closer to the attackers when he wants to provide for them rather than having to play these crosses, which, as we've seen over the years, aren't his best attribute whatsoever. But, he had chances again in this game. It's crazy. 37 successful passes, 73 touches, the second most of any Spurs player. So that shows you how available he was in the game and how much actually went through him to start us on the attack. He made 2 clearances, 2 interceptions and 1 block. Mourinho often used him in his second 11, you know, when we were like in the Europa League and things like that and cup games. He used him in that and always gave him the captain's armband. Now, look, he's an intelligent lad. He's a nice lad. I've been annoyed at him a lot when he's playing left back, but that's because it's not his most natural position. His best times at Spurs was when he was battling Danny Rose, when he was obviously younger, fresher, a bit quicker. As he's getting older, he's really matured as a player. Left-sided of a back three, I think, you know, it's brilliant. He's good. He's good with the ball at his feet, with the players around him. Drops it into the midfield nicely. Joins the midfield when he has to. His awareness of being able to cover Reguilon from his time at left back, I feel, has been pivotal to us. And I think in the back three, it's worked really well. And him and Dyer seem to have a really good understanding next to each other. So I would argue that possibly we're getting excited because Skippy's in the centre of the game for the whole of it. We see more of what he does, whereas once Ben Davies has done his job, it's moved on to the midfield and the attack, and we've kind of forgotten what he's done. But I think from where he was to where he is now, I think that for me is part of the reason why I would have given him man of the match. I just think it's leaps and bounds from where he was, and the fact that several times we've been calling for him to leave and it's time. But you've got to bear in mind, 7 points from a possible 9. He's been involved the whole time. And he's been playing well, and we haven't had real reason to complain about him. So, you know, you got to give credit to the lad. He's worked hard the whole time he's been at Spurs, kept his head down, never causes a fuss, always speaks well. He was actually interviewed at the end of the game as well. So, yeah. And that's it, guys. That is my surmising of the game. That's everything I think. Feel free to drop below in the comments what you think about the game. How do you think everyone played? Is there anything you would have changed? Anyone you would have had in the starting lineup instead of the guys we had? But look, I'm pleased. We're not the finished article yet. Obviously, we're going to have to make some signings. We've still got Romero to come back in the new year. But I will expect maybe another centre-back signing just to help us in that area. But look, if Dyer and Davies carry on the way they are, I don't think we can have too many complaints. I think, you know, they've played fairly well. Dyer's been fairly solid this season. Sanchez obviously had an absolute shocker against Moura. And at times, he had shaky moments in the game against Brentford. But he got forward and attacked at times. He made a string of tackles at one point. But he's obviously a work in progress. But it might be his time to go. But backup-wise, I think he's okay to have around. But he's the only one that, from the defensive line at the moment, I would really question. I think Reguilon's thriving at the moment, and that's clear to see. So, thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Take care, and until tomorrow, where I've actually got a couple of transfer stories for you, which I'm not going to put out today. Otherwise, the video will be too long. Come on, you Spurs.